Done a quick video yesterday about playtesting, and I kind of want to do a little bit longer one to talk about it for a minute here. Because often people want to help out, and playtesting someone's stuff is the best way you can help out, but there's some thoughts to have around it, and also for developers. So if you missed it yesterday, I said that you can go to our Discord, discord.gg/StrayBombay if you're looking for playtesters. We have people playtesting student projects to live projects going through to getting beta keys for Steam stuff. We do a lot of testing for other people's stuff there, not just my own game, the Anacrusis. We did actually do an Anacrusis test last night. That was really successful, but that's actually run by somebody else because that's a community update. But so we have all of that going on. But also, if you just if you like games, like again, our Discord is about people who like games and like playing games with other people, even though a lot of these are single player tests. And so we just celebrate games. And so this is just a great way to give feedback. So now you can do feedback at a bunch of different levels. And I want to be clear, I'm not picking on anybody. There's no wrong way to give feedback. It actually helps that you have this broad spectrum often of people giving feedback, but it's always good when you ask for feedback to ask for what kind of feedback you want, because you want different feedback in different stages. And that's what I'm kind of going to go over here really quickly. So the first is like, you can just show a picture of art and say like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, do you like this character? And I mean, it's hard because you don't have a lot of context and you have to fill in a lot of context. But when we were doing L4D and we were doing the original box covers before we did the hand, we would actually go into GameStop, and put box covers and test it that way. We tested the character stuff with people at a convention and talking about that with them and how they would think about new characters versus the current characters. Even though we were pretty committed to the new characters at that point, we just wanted to check that off to see how they would feel about that. But there's a whole bunch of stuff you can test like that, and that is just opinion. Now, here is something that I stress a lot for the person giving that opinion. Give your personal opinion. You are not wrong in how you react to something. So one of the problems we have in our Discord is other people can see each other's feedback, right? Because you're just giving somebody the feedback, and somebody posts a game, and you're like, hey, this is what I think about this. And I was talking about the density of the dialogue was too much for me. And somebody else was like, I disagree. That's cool, they disagree. But neither one of us are wrong. Each one of us encountered that and gave our personal opinion. And so when people ask for feedback, they don't want you to go, well, here's what I think my brother Joe would think. Because anyone could like hypothesize and kind of sketch out what they think like the mythical customer would look like. When people ask you for playtest or feedback like this, what they're looking for is your actual feedback, because that raw feedback is the hardest thing to get. And it's just what you're encountering with it, what you think about it. And so often, like we are currently with the community update in a place where we're just asking for gameplay feedback. We don't actually want bugs yet so much, unless they're in the way of understanding features, because we're not what we call feature complete. So that means we're putting a lot of features in. We may put more features in, but we really don't know when we're going to ship yet. We can have a date. And granted, this is the thing that I think I'm good at, is having a date and understanding when you need to walk through these process. But if you're not feature complete, you don't know what bugs you have yet. There could be whole hidden bugs around systems, right? And I remember getting really good at this in the source engine, understanding, hey, if we're touching this system, we don't know our bugs. We need to finish this because there could be bugs behind this that we don't understand. And so that's what you're trying to do with feature complete, though, is you want the feedback not about finding those bugs, because you will get people. I worked with a mid-sized developer who we were showing them the first time ever just play of something. And it was looking just to see, is this fun? Does this feel interesting? And instead he went to the edge of the map and was like, I'm the guy who finds all the edge case bugs. And I'm like, but we don't care about that. Like we'll do that in a year from now. Right now, we're just trying to figure out, is this core thing fun or not? And not having that, that's the feedback we want. And so, again, we should have been clear. I thought we were clear with him. But you should always be clear with people of what kind of feedback you want. Because are you looking for bugs, or do you want to just go forward and you'll figure out those bugs later because you want to first get all your features in. So once you get all your features in, then you're like, okay, we have a bunch of bugs. And now we're going to start going through those bugs. Now, I'll tell you what, I had to have this talk, which is a really weird position. We're doing L4D. And I'm in a room. It's Gabe, me, and a very, very senior engineer at Valve. And the senior engineer is worried about shipping in November. And you got to remember, back then, that meant the entire company was working on the game. So every single person at Valve was working on Left 4 Dead, or they were playtesting Left 4 Dead. Like even the accountants were playtesting Left 4 Dead, right? So you are using the full force of the entire company, and you best be right. That's the pressure of running the project like that, right? And he was explaining like, hey, right now the game loads itself 3 times every time we get to a map. We got it down to 2. But like there's so many bugs in here. Like he's like, we're a year off from shipping. And I gave a little speech. And my speech was, Half-Life 2 is a symphony orchestra. It is a work of art. It is beautifully crafted. It is bug-free. It is beautiful. It is like you put on a tux when you go in to listen to it in the symphony hall. Left 4 Dead is a college rock band that you're already pretty drunk before they even start playing because they didn't go on till midnight, and you're just grooving with the vibe and cheering along. And like you're just having a good time, and if bugs come up, if your hand sticks out and doesn't go away, or you got to go AFK to get rid of something, you don't care because you're laughing. It's not a competitive game. It's not like later we were with CSGO where you can't have bugs because bugs mean you lose a competition. I'm like, this is going to be sloppy and noisy, and where Half-Life 2 got reviews of 98, Left 4 Dead's going to get reviews in the mid 80s, and it's going to outsell it. And it's one of those days, like I was tired, I was really wound up, and I just hit the groove of like a good rant. And Gabe was like, okay, we'll ship in November. Like he was just like, all right, like he's often like that. If you could give that information in a way that was clear, and clearly I had thought about this a lot and worried about this a lot, he would buy in. And that meant the entire focus of the company was buying in on this. And so that was me saying, we're going to ship with bugs. And we ship with bugs. And you will always ship with bugs. But you have to decide what you're making, what level of ship bugs you're willing to ship. And so what happens is you get feature complete, and then you say, okay, we fix all those bugs, and now we have the candidate. And the candidate is the time that you say, hey, we think we have the thing we actually want to ship. Now, so in something like in Left 4 Dead's case, remember, it's more complex because we actually had to send off to manufacturing to go make the discs. And then we had to go to certification with Xbox. So we had to like backwind when we actually had to be done for all of this, right? And so the candidate didn't come out, I want to say till September. It was late. But you want to have the candidate, and you're saying, we don't think there's any bugs in here or whatever. Or we're going to do what we call triage, and we're going to go look at the bugs, and we're going to say like, yes, this bug needs to get fixed. This bug, we can fix it with time. This bug, we're not going to touch because we don't know what other problems it's going to cause, and we'll live with this bug. And this bug, we're simply going to not fix and never look at again. I would have to often tell people, yeah, that bug you submitted that you're really passionate about and you demand that we fix no matter what. It's gone out to the farm. It's living with friends. It's having a good life out there. Yeah, we'll get to it. Sure. Yeah, post ship, we'll get to it. No, never gonna get to it. Right. But you had to do those kind of choices, and people get passionate about at the end of projects in particular, because often you see a bug and it's so obvious to you that this needs to get fixed, and somebody else needs to make those decisions on what gets fixed. But you'll always ship some bugs. But you really want to worry about is, as I use Half-Life again as or Left 4 Dead as an example, the night we go to certification, we are up. It's like 4 a.m. One of the senior engineers is like, hey, I want to fix this problem of this double loading. It's driving me nuts. I'm going to fix it. I'm like, please don't. Let's just ship it. He fixes it. We go through a playthrough, like 4:30 in the morning, because you have to do the whole rebuild. So it was like he actually decided this at 3 or something. 4:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden, just one of your characters occasionally disappears, just randomly. Why that has to do with the loading, who knows? But it becomes religion at that point, right? Because you're like, I don't know how this works, but I believe in it. Don't touch it. And we backed it, and then we shipped it, and we sent it off to Xbox. And so you don't want to touch things there. But that candidate, we won't have for our update in the community update probably till after Thanksgiving. And if you want to be part of that testing, just come to our Discord. Let us know. You just put in a code into Steam. We'd be testing if you own the Anacrusis, and you could test it. And there you go. And it just works. So that's a little bit more insight into testing and kind of how there's different times for testing. And you always want to let people know what they're testing, why they're testing, what your expectations of what they're going to report to you. Like, hey, is this fun? And then, you have to be honest with yourself of where you are and what you're going to do and what you're just going to live with. It's There you go.